Things are finally getting back to normal here downtown. This after protesters lined the streets in front of the U.S. Grant. That is where President Trump hosted a campaign fundraiser for hundreds of his supporters. Mind you, tickets to get into that event range from $1,000 to $100,000. But the people that we spoke to who were inside, they say it was worth every penny.
Man is fantastic.
Fantastic.
High praises from San Diegans who had the rare opportunity to meet President Donald Trump. Former Secret Service agent Melanie Burkholder was one of about 500 who attended the campaign fundraiser at the U.S. Grant downtown.
When he entered the room, it was astonishing, and just his spirit is so uplifting.
While no cameras or cell phones were allowed inside the pricey luncheon, one attendee was able to snap this photo of the president who spoke at a podium on a range of topics, from unemployment to the economy and setting stricter auto emissions rules in California.
I was just very impressed. He gave me more than I thought he was going to give us.
No more Trump! No more Trump!
Outside the hotel, a much different tone. Protesters gathered at Horton Plaza to voice their opposition to the president and his policies.
He cares about himself, not about the people.
So we have to keep moving our country forward, even though this president is trying to take us backwards.
Air Force One landed at Miramar Air Force Base around noon Wednesday. The president greeted by military, local lawmakers, and Poway synagogue shooting survivor Rabbi Yisrael Goldstein. Their rabbi also received a warm welcome at the president's fundraiser.
Israel, the rabbi from Poway, was there. We honored him with a rousing round of applause, standing ovation, in fact.
San Diego was the last stop on President Trump's California tour. For his biggest supporters, it was a day they won't soon forget.
Well, I really think he's God's miracle to save America.
And this campaign stop will generate around $4 million for the Trump campaign. That is just for the San Diego stop alone. It is important to note that despite the protesters and the supporters that turned out today, everything remained peaceful.